Today is Easter, and what a nice day it was. High in the mid-70s, a beautiful sunny day, and it's late evening now. Hectic Easter for our family. My father-in-law broke his hip and had surgery today to repair that. So, not quite the Easter that we all had hoped for, but everything is well and good at this point. So getting home here in the late evening, I came out to check the blossoms on the apple trees. This is as much an orchard diary as it is a YouTube entry. This is a Gold Rush apple tree on Molling Merton 111. Planted this tree 3 years ago today in this spot. And it's basically its first year of production this year, to be decided I suppose, but it looks good so far. Nice bloom. Same here, it's a tree planted on the same day, Kids Orange Red, absolutely covered in blossoms. Grimes Golden. Something might be worth noting on this tree, I've got no branching on this back side of the tree. And to do something about that, I came in about a month ago with a knife and I made slits above these buds to try to get them to pop out and produce new limbs. Now most of these buds that I put the slits above are popping out, and I hope they don't produce spurs as much as new limbs, scaffolds. Here's a Hudson's Golden Gem. It's on M27. It did produce a handful of fruit last year, but they all rotted before I got them. We'll see how it does this year. The Gala is not blooming heavily this year. Fire blight last year took a lot of the apple blossom with it, but it's going to have some fruit. It's a large tree, so the blossoms are really spread out on this tree. These are last year's spurs that produced apples last year, just now showing a little bit of green. Curious to see what happens here with those. So as we head up the hill a little bit, here's something of a hodgepodge tree. It's got Freedom scaffolds on the bottom and a Jonafree scaffold, and the rest is Golden Delicious. And looks good. Looks good. The Golden Delicious is just now popping open, the King Blossom, whereas the Freedom is nearly entirely open, if not completely open. Blossom looks spectacular on that tree. Even better over here, this has been the mystery tree for about 9 years in this orchard. I planted it. It was marked as a Royal Gala. Don't know for sure, but it is full of blossom this year. Certainly, I could get a crop off of this one tree. Enough to determine just what it is. But that's a large tree. A semi-dwarf that I'm guessing is Molling Merton 111. Over here to the tall spindle at the top of the garden. Rather weedy still. We'll get on that. There's Ginger Gold. These trees were planted, 2 years ago now? Jonna Gold. And Sweet 16. Definitely behind some of the others. Palm Gris has one blossom. It's still a tight cluster. Its first year had a problem with fire blight, so that's why it's way behind. Crimson Crisp, just starting to open. Same with these two Honey Crisp. And a couple of Newtown Pippins I planted last spring, so they've been here for 1 year. I do have one blossom out here on the end. And then this Newtown Pippin's been up here for, this is its second year, but it was already a year old when I put it in. And here's a Boss Coupe tree. Absolutely beautiful and covered in blossom. It produced one apple last year. I was hoping for more this year. Some might remember the sick Jonathan apple tree that I've tried so hard to grow in this spot. Well, I've grafted him. Severe cut. And cut above this last year. I cut it down to here this year. This is Jonathan to this point. And this is Liberty right there. So, hoping that graft takes. Red Delicious just popping open. Definitely a little behind some of the other trees. Golden Delicious way behind some of the other trees. Not noted as a late bloomer, but it is this year. Liberty, covered in blooms. Completely covered in apple blossoms. And it's probably 80-90% open right now. A little worried about pollination on this tree because I haven't much else blooming right here with it. Here's a freedom tree. Some blossom on this tree just coming open. So hoping these will pop out tomorrow and help with the pollination of the Liberty behind it. Brand new planting here, Sun Fuji, G30. And then the MacFree was hit hard with fire blight last year, and that took out a lot of the spurs. But we do have some blossom on the tree. May get a few fruits off of it. This is the new vertical axis planting. And these trees are just in their second leaf here. There's a blossom. I won't let it produce fruit just yet. And then right down here, this tree is marked as a Granny Smith dwarf. I fear it is a semi-dwarf because it is not blooming. And it's really growing large, so might have to do something about that in the future. Here's a Williams Pride, small tree, covered in blooms. What a nice evening this is. And Orleans Renette. Hopefully get a few fruits off of this tree this year. A tree labeled as a Harrelson. It's yet to produce an apple that looked anything like a Harrelson apple. So it's on the chopping block this year. Let's see what it can do. Some Bevan favorites on B9. I think I would be doing a disservice to these trees to let them produce any fruit this year. They're about 6 feet tall. But for vertical axis, I'd like to get a little more growth on there. Remember the crabs we grafted some time back? Doing pretty well. Here's Gala. Just a couple of blossoms. Next year will be that tree's year. It's a year behind some of these others. This is the Liberty. Most of the blossoms are up high on this tree. Should produce fruit. Another Liberty. Crabapple grafted. That's on tape if you want to go back and check that out. And here's that Gala, grafted to a crabapple some years back. Here's hoping for a good spring.